When I was younger, I had this buddy called John, and John was the only kid I knew that owned a Commodore Amiga, this old-ass home computer. No one else had one, and Amiga games have this sort of unique vibe to them, so I was always excited to go around to his house and play the thing. And on that machine, he had a game called Alien Breed, the game you're looking at right now, and it quickly became one of my favorite games to play when I went to his house. I think Alien Breed did something to my young, impressionable brain, because ever since, whenever I see a game like that, or a game in a similar style, something lights up inside my head like I'm the monkey in that neuron activation meme. Games like Loaded, the Chaos Engine, Shadowgrounds, there's a lot of these. Hell, there's a game I bought semi-recently called Intravenous that I haven't played yet, and I don't know anything about it, but because it triggered that Alien Breed-addled part of my brain, I dropped 16 quid on it without a second thought. But then, in 2012. I mean, holy shit, forget Alien Breed, this is it right here. The best possible way to present a game like this. Fast, frenetic, challenging, with an absolutely killer soundtrack. Hotline Miami has it all. Now I know making a video saying that Hotline Miami is a good game in current year is sort of redundant and stating the obvious, but this is the first review for the channel, and I want something I can be mostly positive about. I have plenty of time in the future to be a snobby critic, but for now, we gush. Just on the off chance you live in some deep underground network, Hotline Miami, released on the 24th of October 2012, is a top-down action game developed by two Swedish dudes who go by the name Dennerton Games, apparently a portmanteau of their two first names. It was originally made in Game Maker, which apparently gave them a hard time and resulted in some early versions of the game being a bit buggy. I heard speedrunners many years ago talking about how they would wrong warp to different parts of the game, and the Wikipedia page says that having certain printers plugged into your computer would cause the game to crash. Side note, I just fucking hate printers as a peripheral in general. I bought a printer just last year, and every time I go to use it, it spits out blank pages, and then I have to use a ton of black ink cleaning the heads to make it work again. Fuck printers. I'll just use the copy machine at a convenience store. And if you're watching this video and you work for Epson, suck my balls. Back on topic though, there's a cool video with the developers talking about the game's design and legacy on YouTube that I'll link in the description, so you can go and watch that instead of having me just repeat well-documented information at you. Anyway, I guess when I bought the game around the summer of 2013, some of this stuff was fixed because I've not had any troubles with it even to this day, and I used to speedrun this shit. So if you haven't played Hotline Miami and this intro has inspired you, don't worry about bugs, you'll be fine. In fact, if you haven't played Hotline Miami, I'm going to ask you to stop the video and go do it, because I'm going to be going through the whole damn thing. It's not a long game, get to it. And with all that said and done, let's dive into the madness that is Hotline Miami. The first thing that happens when you hit new game is that you're immediately getting the rundown of the game's basic controls from this nasty looking homeless guy. I think if that was the first thing I saw when I woke up, I'd probably want to do some violence too. After a quick tutorial, you get a short cutscene where you're berated by some dudes wearing masks, and then the game begins for real. Pick up the phone, get your mission, get in your car, and go to work. Every mission in Hotline Miami follows the same formula. Phone call, violence, and then a short scene at the end before you repeat it all over again. There is a story and it's sort of interesting, but if the only thing you care about is the violence, then these sections are short and won't keep you waiting too long. The tutorial and cutscenes can be skipped with right click too, so if you really don't care, just hold that down and proceed to the murder. When the first mission starts proper, you'll get a mask menu, but everything is locked at first, and these masks will unlock as you complete levels. I have some shit to say about these masks, but since none of them are available right now, we'll come back to that in a bit. The first mission is sort of unique in that it's one of the few missions in the game that has an objective. Most levels just end when you kill all the dudes, but in this one you have to grab a suitcase. You still have to kill all the dudes as well, so it's basically just a normal level with an additional step, but you know, gotta set the scene. It's a simple level, kill the guys, grab the case, drop it in the trash, kill the hobo, and that's it. First day of the job is a rip-roaring success. After every level you get this grading screen where it breaks down your points, and I don't really understand what most of it means even after years of playing. Mobility? Did I get points for just moving around? I'm sure I could Google it, but I'm lazy, and getting high scores in this game isn't exactly rocket science. Then you get this other list of special actions which makes sense in terms of how you acquired them, but what they're doing to your overall score is unclear. It's a bit of a weird system that isn't really adequately explained in the game anywhere as far as I know. All you need to know is that kill dudes for points, kill them fast for combo bonuses, and then you'll probably get a good grade at the end. If you're playing from a new game, you might notice that the points you get in each stage is affecting weapon unlocks, but that's a thing I'll come back to later. Unlock a new mask, wake up the next day to another message on the machine. The next couple of missions aren't anything too special or difficult. Small areas with easy to understand enemy patrols that allow you to get used to the controls and general flow of the game. However, after the second mission, you unlock Tony, the best mask in the whole goddamn game. And this is where I want to bring up one of the big criticisms I have with Hotline Miami. The mask system seems cool at first when they have effects like extra guns or allowing you to bypass certain enemies, but the balance is way off. You might think that you can pick a mask to suit your playstyle or pick one to help with a specific situation a level might throw at you, but no, fuck that. Just pick Tony every time. Tony gives you lethal punches, which means that you completely bypass the need to find weapons in most cases. Just waltz in, punch people to death, and waltz out. It also makes your executions instant, so no getting caught out as you rearrange another man's face with a stick. It's fast, effective, and there's only one enemy type in the game that can't be punched, so really there isn't much need for any of these other wastes of rubber. Whoever is giving you these masks should probably ask for a refund from whatever costume shop they got them from. I think if you're into speed running, then Brandon, the mask that makes you move faster, is technically better, but for everyone else, just use Tony. He's great! Anyway, when you hit Decadence, you'll meet your first boss. He can be a bit panic-inducing at first, because he cannot be Tony'd, and he's basically immune to everything that isn't a shotgun. Outrun him and grab a gun, or bring one down with you from the previous floor and plug him twice, which opens him up to having his eyes pushed in to the back of his face. Easy, but it's the first boss, you know, what do you expect? On the way out, you'll rescue the girl that these scumbags have drugged up in the back. Jacket, the guy you're controlling here, may be an insane killer that would make dudes like John Wick shit their pants, but he's not a monster. It is, however, a legal requirement that you spin the girl in circles on the way out. Payment for the rescue is a trip on Tony the Tiger's wild ride. With the first boss down, we jump right into part 2, where we're once again berated by Chicken Man. This time he leaves us with Riddles 3 and then tells us to fuck off so we can go ponder them. Alright mate, been watching a bit too much Python, have you? Anyway, more of the same. Get a message, get to killing, and get back home in one piece. The first map, Tension, is a lot like what we've been doing before, but this is where I want to bring up another issue I have with this game. Weapon balance. As you've been getting points, you've been unlocking all these weapons, but the problem here is that all the melee weapons are basically the same thing, and the only two guns that actually matter are the 6-round shotgun and the rifle, which are unlocked from the start anyway. I'm glad my points are being used for something, but none of this shit is useful or actually matters. You want the rifle to attract patrols to your position so you can punch them, maybe picking off 1 or 2 dudes with the bullets before the mag runs out. And then the shotgun is used for those pesky dudes that can't be punched, and everything else is just sort of whatever. I'm sure there's someone out there who will argue the difference and effectiveness of the sledgehammer over the knife, but what does it matter when I'm just charging in, massive nuts swinging in the breeze into every room with my turbo fists? Tension also has this stupid thing going on where you come to a door that's hooked up to some kind of interrogation room that's been rigged Saw 5 style to bombs. When you breach the room with a shotgun, it plays probably the loudest sound known to humankind and will upset you if you're wearing headphones. Unsurprisingly, it'll also kill you too if you're too close, so blow that up, bait the last two guys so you can dome them with your 12 gauge and move on. Come to think of it, I think these are the only two dudes in the entire game that have enough common sense to at least try and take cover. Turns out Tony's biggest weakness is an upturned table. Full House is another bog standard level, but I haven't had a chance to talk about the goddamn music in this game yet. And this level plays my favourite song on the soundtrack, so now is a good time. The entire OST of Hotline Miami is just pure fucking gold. Like, I'm of the opinion that 10 out of 10 video games don't really exist, 10 meaning literally perfect, not the IGN 10 out of 10 meaning of very high quality, but if I'm just rating the soundtrack, then this is an easy and genuine fucking 10 out of 10. If I listen to it outside of the game, there's not a single skip. Straight bangers for the entire run. Gets you pumped even for the most frustrating dog shit levels in the game. I salute everyone who worked on this beautiful track list. One of the best video game OSTs to ever grace the medium. No hyperbole. Full House is fucking easy though. Next! Clean Hit's an interesting level with a sort of gimmick. The gimmick being that after the first room, you're met with this big corridor where two fuckers are waiting off screen to send you to meet God if you try to waltz down and have Mr. and Mrs. Fist do all the work. There is a path where you can stealth on the outside of the building and take everyone out. You also appear to be being watched by these two greasy fuckers cleaning, so remember those faces. This is the intended path, but the fun part of this stage is if you have a little bit of prior knowledge and you know to bring a gun up the elevator with you. You can kill the dudes at the end of the hall, and finally, Mr. and Mrs. Fist can earn their paychecks once more in one of the most satisfying 4-man kills in the whole game. Don't forget to shoot the guy taking a dump on the way out. He will never get up no matter what. I guess being caught in such a compromising position made him well and truly give up. I probably would too. Neighbours is our second boss level, and as a gauntlet of more of the fast-paced murder we've probably started to get pretty good at by this point. To mix things up, the big lads start showing up in this stage, and unfortunately, they've been consuming too many kilos of Hungry Jack's cheeseburgers, so they're completely immune to being Tony'd. Thankfully, hot lead from any firearm will take them down, and in this stage, guns are plentiful in parts where you need them. One thing to keep in mind is that if your shot doesn't kill a big lad right away, it starts a sort of timer that removes the rest of their health, and after a while they bleed out. Sometimes this will happen as they chase you, usually after you hit them with a shotgun blast, and it's pretty satisfying to have them fall impotently at your feet. Nice touch for this enemy type. The boss is a dude in another building in a biker helmet causing some cyber shenanigans, and while now I find him really easy, on my first playthrough this fight took me a little while. You can't approach him or he cuts you, so you have to wait for him to throw his cleaver. It is, however, thanks to the weird way in which the AI moves him around, easy to get cornered, and then you're just completely fucked. Stay as close to the middle of the stage as you can. In fact, if you can learn the timing of his swings, it's probably just best to stand completely still in the center and move as he comes at you. Smack him twice and then show him your golf swing. Oh yeah, there's this one really annoying thing that can happen in this fight where sometimes when he throws the cleaver, it just doesn't stick in the wall properly, and then when that happens, you're just dead.
He turns into Sonic the Hedgehog in order to go grab it, and then moves even faster to cut out your jugular. It's not a thing that happens often, plus the fight is short and respawns are fast. In fact, dying in this game is more of a mild annoyance across the board than anything really frustrating, but it is annoying that there's a situation where you have no chance of recovery and are forced to just die. With Hackerman dead, it's time to move on to part 3.
Part 3 kicks off the same as the others, with you waking up in that dirty room being chastised by the Beastie Boys. The Chicken Man does his usual cryptic bullshit and gives you 3 predictions, the most interesting of which is one where he says you're going to wake up in a bigger house on July 21st. I mean, hell yeah. I don't know what house prices are like in Miami, but surely killing all these dudes against all odds must be paying pretty well, and the idea of getting out of that shitty apartment sounds pretty good to me. Maybe the lads on the phone are gonna hook me up with something nice and spacious with a pool or some shit. Sounds good. Let's get back to the murder. The chapter kicks off with Push It, and this is where Hotline Miami really starts to take the gloves off and get hard. The music in this level is louder than all the others, probably because it's set in a nightclub, which is, you know, a cool touch, and eases you in with a nice and simple first room. Most of the dudes in here barely have any time to react as you bust on the dance floor and punch them to death, and then you have 2 options. You have to take both to clear the stage, so you don't need to worry about branching story paths or anything. I always like to take the left path first. In this room, you may be tempted to run up that central corridor, and it's possible to make it through, but both sides of the hall are windowed, so you're gonna get shot at a bunch, and when you do make it to the other side, life is gonna be less than ideal for you. My suggestion is to pick a side hall, stop in the middle with a gun, and then spray like a madman to try and pop some of the dudes from the other side of the map. Clean up the stragglers when you're done, and move on to the other side. This room is where the level can become really irritating. You're met with a hall with nowhere to hide and not much space to maneuver. If you didn't bring a gun to this room, then good fucking luck getting through that hall before eating a mouthful of hot lead. It is possible to bait the guy at the end of the hall, but it's a real pain in the ass. Also, the layout of the north section is so awkward that even with a gun it's kind of tricky to get out into the dance hall without being gunned down before you're even able to grasp the layout. Eventually you'll either get good or get lucky and make it through though. You make your usual trip to the store, but things are starting to get really strange. That asshole with the cleaver that you hole-in-one is on the floor gurgling and bleeding. The dude behind the desk tells you it's not happening and he just fucking vanishes. Weird, but I guess performing multiple brutal murders day in, day out will fuck with your mental health. Maybe Jacket should apply for some time off. Take your next message and then enter Crackdown. The first floor of this place is pretty simple, although there's a stupid corridor at the start where it's depressingly easy to get dogged. There's a bunch of randomness in this game when it comes to the enemies, such as if they get baited by gunshots, and I think their reflexes when it comes to spinning around and shooting you in the head, and I swear the dog at the end of this corridor will sometimes just be equipped with fucking jet engines on his legs, and he'll tear out my throat before I can even click my mouse. Fuck that one dog in particular, not a good boy at all. When you make it to the second floor, the first thing you'll become aware of is just how big the place is. It's not particularly difficult, but you're gonna have to get pretty deep in there to clear it out. Well, this mission has a nice surprise gimmick in that after you kill a few guys, the cops turn up to ruin all your fun. Thinking about it, I'm sort of surprised the cops haven't turned up sooner than this. Like, we've killed an absolute shit ton of people. You'd think the Miami PD would be on some kind of super high alert or something, but I guess they're just incompetent because this is the first and only mission where they managed to catch you in the act. Anyway, you have a sniper to avoid, which isn't difficult, but there's still enemies on this floor, and the SWAT team will bust in to deal with your furry ass. So if you ran in deep to get those kills, escaping can be a little tricky. My strategy is to use guns to bait dudes to the entrance to stay as close to the stairway as possible and kill enough guys to trigger the police, but like I said before, dudes being baited or not is a coin toss, so sometimes dealing with that sniper rifle is just unavoidable. There are also cops on the first floor, but this, again, is why Tony is so fucking good. You can just saunter towards the door, punch one guy on the way out and knock him down to get into your car. Honestly, it's been so long since I've done this level without Tony that I've forgotten what it's like to do it that way. But I guess you gotta be a bit stealthier because you cannot kill the police officers. You only get paid for dudes in white suits, and Jacket doesn't work for free, I guess. Also, check this out. It's kind of hard to see because it happens so fast, but the cop here shoots me and it doesn't kill me. This can happen occasionally, and it really does feel like a miracle. But the bad news is it can also happen to the enemies too. Sometimes I've been doing speedruns where my shot will be on target, but the game will decide it doesn't count, and the dude I shot, understandably unhappy about it, takes my face off with his 12 gauge. Maddening, but it's so rare that it's hard to really get upset about. Alright lads, this is it. The level that stops new players dead in their tracks, sometimes for multiple hours at a time. Hot and heavy. This level is brutal. The first room has 2 windows with dudes behind it that will end you the moment you walk through the hall. The top part forces you to hide behind these irritating tiny walls in order to not get shot from across the map, and when you do finish this area, you're presented with 3 additional rooms to empty out before you can leave this nightmare. The lower room is nothing too difficult. The first room on the right can be a bit tricky, but this room generally feels like a breather. The next room on the right hand side is where it really kicks off. An expansive series of corridors with rooms made almost entirely of glass, each filled with at least one guy with a rifle ready to blast you the moment you take a step in any direction. Back when I was playing this game a ton for speedruns and stuff, I would pop into random people's streams who were playing it for the first time, you know, just to lurk while I did my dishes or my laundry or whatever, and more often than not, it would be a guy stuck in this part of the game for an absolute inordinate amount of time. No shade to those streamers either, this room sucks ass. My suggestion is to bring a rifle with you, stand somewhere near the entrance and unload it just to bait as many guys as you can, and then let Tony go to work. This presents its own annoying problem of creating a pile of bodies, and when this happens it's basically impossible to know which ones are dead and which ones are just knocked down. You see, when you kill a dude, they drop their weapon, and if that weapon hits a nearby guy, it'll knock him down, and in the mess of pixels, you might not realize which guys are dead and which guys are just having a little sleep. This can result in a guy you thought was dead getting back up and shoving a knife in your neck, which is very annoying. For me personally, this happens embarrassingly often with doors, where it will swing and knock a dude out and I don't notice. Even if you get through the initial bullshittery of this room, the halls are still being patrolled by some extra guys with guns and dogs, so if you aren't careful, it's entirely possible to get killed off screen by one of these assholes. The final room is a little tricky thanks to the big man, but if you can handle the glass room, this shit's easy. But I mean, look at this shit. I'm sure those 3 guys are supposed to stay in that room, but in multiple playthroughs I recorded for this video, he just decides to wander out and make my life hard. Punch your way through, and the nightmare is over. Back at the apartment, things are really starting to get screwy now with some fucking half-eaten big man eating all the Nutella in your fridge. Jacket really needs a holiday, and the keys to that nice big house that Brain Chicken Man promised him. Thankfully, he doesn't want to punch you out, despite missing an eye that you probably removed. Take the message on your phone and move on to Deadline. This level is a series of rooms with tricky layouts, but nothing overly annoying. Just make sure you bring a gun to the second floor if you can, because doing it without one sucks ass. And if you don't bring one, the only thing you get is a silenced pistol, which is less effective at killing dudes than a water gun. Yeah, that thing I mentioned about bullets not killing enemies sometimes, it seems to happen the most with this weapon. Get a rifle from the first floor and tell that dinky piece of shit to go fuck itself. When you clear all the floors, you get ambushed by this madman in a truck. If there's anyone who's played this game and didn't get run over the first time, I want to hear about it, because this guy is going at least 400, and I swear it's impossible to dodge if you aren't aware in advance that it's coming. Punch out the first guy and then grab his gun pronto, because this clown car has multiple large boys in it that Tony cannot handle. While you're dealing with these literal clowns, the driver is tossing Molotovs at you, and the flames will linger until the end of the fight, so you have to watch your positioning. The cool thing about this is that the regular enemies must have taken a gasoline shower before coming to get you, because if you bait the Molotov to the truck door, they will die instantly as they come out of the truck. Just stop chucking stuff at me and reverse the truck a little bit. What is wrong with you? This fight is really weird because after 2 Molotovs the guy just kind of gives up. He didn't bring a gun, isn't willing to try and fight you, and he just throws himself down and lets you absolutely brutalize him. It seems weird, but to be fair, if I brought a truck with like 10 friends in it to take out one guy and he killed them all in a couple of seconds, I'd probably just give up too. Actually, I'd probably try and run away, but either way, I'd be just fucked. Either Jacket kills me now, or the guy who hired me to kill Jacket kills me when I go back and report the failure. Jacket might actually be a faster death. Head to the nightclub, as we always do, and it's now full of dead bodies, which is certainly a bit weird, but I've been to nightclubs that look similar to this around 4 AM, just with a bit less blood. Leave, and then we jump right into... The weirdest thing about this opening stage is that we start outside of the apartment. I mean, forget the bodies in the streets, something's really off here. Head up the stairs to find the girl you rescued dead in the bathroom, which sucks for Jacket because they clearly had a bit of a thing going on. And then in your living room, you'll find a dirty rat on your couch. He gives you the whole nothing personnel kid and guns you down. Restarting the level leads you to the chicken man, who continues to be a negative Nancy at you, and then leave the room to find yourself in a bed. This out-of-body experience is so intense that it quite literally blows your mind. Jacket wakes up on July 21st listening to a cop complaining to a doctor about how the man who got shot in the head isn't recovering fast enough. Oh. Wait, July 21st? This is the bigger house? What a fucking letdown, dude. So what's happening here is that everything we played up to this point were memories that Jacket has been reliving in his own head while he's been stuck in a coma. Now it's present day, and we've got some axes to grind. But before we can do that, we have to play through this fucking dogshit level. The weird mandatory stealth level is not something that's exclusive to Hotline Miami, but I don't know a single person that has ever played a surprise stealth section in a non-stealth game and said it was a good and fun experience. This one is up there with the especially awful stealth levels because not only are we gingerly avoiding doctors in a game about fast-paced violence, Jacket will stumble around as you move and, after a certain distance, will fall to his knees and have a bit of a headache, which leaves you open to getting seen. I learned how to do this level the speedrun way and have completely forgotten how to do it the proper way, so just watch this clip and copy me. This level sucks massive amounts of ass, but thankfully it's short and you'll be back to gunning people down before it really starts to piss you off. With that bullshit level out the way, Jacket heads home and he isn't taking any orders from any stinking answering machine anymore. Grab your shit from the trash and we're heading to the police station because if you remember, when the cop was yapping by our bed, he said they had the guy who did this locked up. So I guess it's time to assault the police station and get that guy to spill the beans. This, personally, is my most hated level. Not that there's anything overtly wrong with it, but it's just fucking annoying. All the floors are massive, there's windows in annoying areas, and the second floor with the circular hallway can be a pain in the ass because it's totally possible to get yourself flanked on both sides. Like, it's challenging, sure, but it's a real fucking slog and amounts to my least favourite part of the game outside of trauma. There's also a sort of mini-boss in this level in the form of the police chief, but he's a complete joke. It's just a big lad with 2 machine guns, but you pop out, hit him once with any firearm, and just wait for him to bleed out. The guy in the north room is more dangerous than the chief because he's supposed to wait with his buddy, but sometimes the AI just makes him wander out and he caps you from off screen. Fun fact about this level too, you can punch the prisoner through the wall. Unfortunately, he knows about as much as we do about what's going on and has no beans to spill. I guess we were just another target of one of his voicemails in the end. Kinda makes you wonder why he was ordered to do so. I always thought it was because you fucked up and got the police involved in Crackdown, but that doesn't really make sense, does it? Then I thought maybe it was because of the girl you brought home after Decadence, like she's a potential witness to something, but I feel that that doesn't make any fucking sense either. The internet seems to think it's because he failed to actually kill Biker during his boss fight at the call center, but that's not something we can infer by just looking at this game.
Yours, but I'm too shy, I suppose.
As far as we know at this point, Biker is dead, and when this was first released, no one knew that Biker would pop up in the sequel. But you know what? Who fucking knows and who fucking cares? The machinations of lunatics leaving murder requests on my answering machine are probably better left unknown. Let's just get back to getting our revenge. Grab the documents, and like our attempted murder suggests, head home. Back home we have all our shit laid out like some kind of mad conspiracy theorist, and from those documents we learn that there are people being threatened into murder missions, and they're getting calls that are coming from some club tied to the Russian mafia. Bit weird to read that, considering that we weren't being threatened in any way. We seem to be happily going along with it, which makes the call for our murder even stranger, but whatever, try not to think about it. We got an address, so let's warm up those fists and get to work. Vengeance is a pretty straightforward level. The second area can be a little annoying sometimes, depending on what gun you have, and if you aggro the big lad or not at an inopportune moment. Oh yeah, and how have I not mentioned this already? The weapons you get from enemies and the ones laying on the ground can change from attempt to attempt. It's not a huge aspect of the game I think about very often, especially since Tony is permanently glued to my face, but it's a cool feature. Can keep you on your toes even during repeat playthroughs, but will also completely screw you over in places. For example, getting a double barrel here makes things significantly harder than getting a rifle or at least a 6-round shotgun. The dude here also has no answers for us. He's just a manager or something. He gives us another address in hopes that we'll spare his life, but instead we punch him so hard that his blood phases through the walls of the buildings. This happens even if you aren't wearing Tony, by the way. Jacket just has industrial pistons for arms. So this is it. The big cheese. We don't even go home to prepare, we're just right in there. Vengeance for our dead roommate, girlfriend, is right at our fingertips. This guy has 3 short phases. The first is the most annoying because you have to beat his 2 pet panthers or whatever the fuck they are to death with a trophy. This is the most annoying part because you need to hit the panthers twice and they can instantly counter you with a swipe attack that absolutely will fuck you up the first time you try this fight, and probably for a few times after. Hell, I've done countless runs of this game, and even to this day, every so often I get careless and it catches me out. After that, you have to deal with his bodyguard, some Kill Bill ass chick who goes down in one hit. Some real slapstick comedy shit. No punching, no guns, you just clonk her in the face with the trophy and she goes down. Make her take a real good look at the craftsmanship on that glass floor, and then we're on to the last guy. This part is kind of dog shit the first few times you do it, because at first you'll probably get blindsided by the gunfire, and then you might not realize that the fountains can act as cover. Once you get that down, he's easy. You just wait for him to reload, grab the knives his bodyguard dropped, and cut his hands off, I think. I guess they're not coming off since he domes himself at the end of the fight, so you don't get the satisfaction either way, but goddamn, Jacket is really skilled with those knives. Another fun fact about this part is that you can get killed by the gunshot he uses to off himself if you're in the wrong position. I lost a decent chunk of time in a speedrun figuring that out, so watch your positioning at the end. With that done, we get a call from the bigger cheese telling us that he can't sleep with all the commotion, so we head upstairs to make him more comfortable. Jacket throws off his mask, wistfully looks at a photo of what I assumed was of him and the girl when this was new, but it's probably something else, actually. And then he lights a cigarette to bask in his victory. And with that, the credits roll. But wait a fucking second here. Just take a moment to think about what we did for the last few levels. We haven't done shit. We were out to get the guys who were out to get us, but obviously the Russian Mafia weren't the ones leaving messages on our answering machines. It's the Mafia, not a suicide cult. I think they want their members very much alive to facilitate their illicit dealings. We just got strung along doing the same thing we've been doing since level 1, so essentially we got no answers to anything, but Jacket did manage to single-handedly take down the Russian Mafia, so I guess that's good enough for him, and if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. And that's Hotline Miami, an absolutely incredible gameplay experience, and the story, despite being sparse and vague, leaves enough mystery for players to speculate on, which is nice, and for a game like this, that's perfectly appropriate. Some minor annoyances here and there in certain level design and gameplay elements, but never enough to detract from what is easily one of the best indie games I have ever played in my life.
A few moments later.
Oh wait, what the fuck is going on? The game's pulled a Craig David and has faded into a new scene. Some dude in a biker helmet literally shaking a guy down for information. He wants out of these murder missions, and the only way to do it is to get to the source before the source gets to him. He gets directed to a Chinese restaurant and off he goes on his bike. Audience members with a particularly good memory might remember him from a previous level. As you can see, we've changed character, and he's a fair bit different from Jacket. Most notably, the mask system is gone when playing as this guy. You get a bike helmet and that's it. You have a cleaver for close range murder and 3 knives for long range murder, which you can throw with right click. You can't pick anything up and you can't reload your knives. You can pick up a knife that you missed with, but once it's fulfilled its purpose, it's fucking gone. Not quite as dynamic as Jacket, but we only have a couple of levels with this dude, and his missions aren't very hard. Safe House is an absolutely tiny level, basically acting as a sort of tutorial to get you acclimated to the new guy. There's one annoying guy with a shotgun hiding behind a kitchen counter, and if you're charging in and you miss your knife, you're going to eat shit. Other than that, it's a very simple level. The guy in the office here is lucky that Biker found him and not Jacket, because Biker is actually willing to let people live if they give him what he wants. This guy coughed up some info, so off we go, I guess. In the next mission, we can see our man here is also getting calls, but he's clearly not following through, and the guy on the other end is rather unhappy about it. We probably don't want to piss off the mysterious phone man too much, so I guess we're going to go off and do some mafia murder. Fun and Games is a tricky level thanks to the vastness of the first floor and the awkwardly placed windows on the second, but after a few attempts you'll get a feel for it. I just noticed something weird about the second floor too. The southwest bathroom has fucking windows on it, and there's these 3 dudes just standing outside watching these 2 dudes taking alternating shits or something. If the level was set in some weird sex club I wouldn't say anything, but it's called Fun and Games because it's set in an arcade. Gameplay wise I understand, it's so that if you rush to the lower section of the map for safety, then you're instead surprised with a counter rush of 3 dudes with metal pipes, but from a, I don't know, interior design point of view, this shit is fucked. Anyway, next mission we get another call, but this time we're ignoring that shit. Tell that answering machine to go fuck itself, and we're gonna go check out the place the guy in the restaurant told us about. Right away you're gonna recognize the scenery. Things look grim for Mr. Biker here, we know how this ends up. Head upstairs, pull a Luigi and hack the computer. Here comes the man himself. Our goose is cooked, lads. So, okay, I guess we're doing some alternate timeline shit, I guess. Jacket is insanely easy too. The absolute monster we once knew slain in one hit by a cleaver. To be fair, that's accurate to how fragile he is when you're playing him, so I guess I can't complain. We're free from the shackles of boss fight AI, but he's still bound by being a human that bleeds when sharp things touch him. What a fucking idiot. I wanted to get a clip of it for this video because it's funny as fuck, but if you beat Jacket in just the right place, you can phase through the wall like a fucking T-1000. Only really useful if you're speedrunning, but I think the idea of Biker becoming some kind of ascended being after killing Jacket is pretty funny. Our answering machine in the next scene implies that we're fucked because we hacked that PC, but we can Uno reverse card these guys and show them our carving skills. The final level isn't really a level, it's just a cutscene. Like, remember these guys, the cleaners from way back? Well, apparently they've been orchestrating the whole thing, and they just refuse to elaborate. Well, we did our best, but I guess the truth dies with them, and this time, the credits roll for real.
But wait! There's more!
If at any point during the game you paused, you may have noticed that there's a thing that says puzzle. So in every level you can find a Scrabble piece. You can check if it's been collected or not in the chapters menu. In game it looks like a tiny 1 pixel purple square and it's kind of hard to see 98% of the time. It's entirely possible that you can go an entire playthrough and not find a single one. I'm pretty sure the point of wearing the Rasmus mask is to make these more noticeable, but this is 2025. I don't think anyone's going to want to pixel hunt every stage for a tiny Scrabble piece, so just use YouTube or something. Surviving in this game is already hard enough without the additional task of pixel hunting for bullshit. Put the puzzle together and go back to the final level, and now Biker can hack into the computer on the first floor. One thing I noticed when doing this review is that this is the lobby area from Vengeance. It's just not here when you come as Jacket. You could argue that it's because the door is closed, but rooms are visible behind closed doors in every other level, so I just like to think that Jacket is so blinded by vengeful rage that all the obvious bullshit leading into this sewer just eluded him completely. Head down the ladder again and you get the secret ending. These two goofballs run a 2-man operation called 50 Blessings that want to topple some Russian-American alliance or something. I don't know, man. This ending is just as weird and just as deflating as the other two, but at least it's something. The death of these two guys clearly isn't the end of 50 Blessings, but it sure feels good to wipe those smug faces clean a second time. And that's it. That's just about everything Hotline Miami has to offer. The game doesn't have a lot of extra content after this. There's a few masks you can find in a couple of levels, and of course, if you're a perfectionist, then you can go for A+ in every stage, but otherwise it would be perfectly understandable to move on from here. There are also 2 bonus levels, which I won't cover here in any detail, but they're short, not overly difficult, but, you know, worth doing if you want to squeeze every single moment of gameplay out of the game. One thing I can recommend if you really want to put your hotline skills to the test is to play through the game entirely with Nigel. Nigel will unlock when you beat the game with the secret ending, and it's sort of a joke mask that reverses your walking controls. There's no reward for doing it, but I love doing dumb challenges with my games, so the inclusion of Nigel was an extremely welcome addition to my mask collection when I got it for the first time. There's also the Oscar mask that makes the game quote-unquote dark, but I don't know, it just kind of looks like I'm playing some Virtual Boy shit and doesn't actually pose that much of a challenge. Looks like I'm just playing violent Jack Brothers or something. So after the dust has settled and the blood has dried, I think I can safely say that Hotline Miami is probably one of the best indie games that has ever been made. One of those legendary status games that comes out of the space every couple of years or so. It's not perfect, but it's so fun, so stylish, and has such a great soundtrack that the difficulty and the little annoying things about the gameplay aren't nearly enough of a problem to detract from the rush that the game will give you. And with that said, I give this game a strong 9 out of 10. It's been released for basically everything under the sun, so just go play it right now if you haven't. Well, thank you for watching my review of Hotline Miami. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments what you think of this game, and I look forward to seeing you in the next review.